Okay, let's get into today's topic, which I received last night as like a download idea of a topic that I wanted to speak on. It's been something that I have personally been focused on in my own life as I've been experiencing pretty massive identity shifts in the last couple of weeks. I am obviously very in that I'm always working on myself, right? I'm always working on shifting my identity and shifting into who I truly am and letting go of parts of me that aren't actually me. And I've found that through this process, a lot of that takes repetition and it takes a lot of focus. And just like this past couple of weeks, I have really experienced, maybe you've experienced this before, this like the shift that really takes place. I think we've all been there before where we get like introduced into a concept or information and it's like the first time that we hear it and it like awakens something within us. But it's not automatic for us to fully make that shift where for the first time we've heard it and it's like an aha moment or it's an awakening. There's a shift that has to happen. There's a gap in between having that moment and becoming it, embodying it. And that's a lot of the work that I teach and help women through is closing that gap of all of the beautiful information and things that we've learned throughout our personal growth journey. And it's how do I make the identity shift? How do I make this be who I am? And it can sometimes be a process, but when you set your focus on it, when you have so much intention, you're putting in the reps to make that your reality and embody it like at a cellular level, really at a cellular level. You experience this moment after putting in all of that work where it's almost like the last part of the old self dies, like you feel it. It's like all of a sudden it's like this is just who I am. I've just decided. And I don't have to work really hard to be that new person. It's just who I am now. I don't have to overcome the ego. I don't have to overcome these like habits that I know are not aligned with that version of me that I want to be. I no longer have to overcome them because I that part of me has fully died. That part of me is no longer with me, and that's been the season that I have been in recently. And part of that shift is like this is something I've known, but it's always been kind of a challenge for me to really again embody where I am just focused on the desire and not at all focused on the problem. And I think it's something that we can all do better at. We can all like once you understand this concept, it really can unlock so much of your power because a lot of us, well, most of us are trained to be very problem oriented and how do I solve the problem? There's nothing wrong with solving problems, but when you take a look at our ability to create our reality and what we are creating, and maybe you're working on manifesting your dream reality, you're working on manifesting your desires, the shift that really has to happen with all of this is being focused on the desire versus the problem. Because we will receive the download, we will receive the desire, right? We've all had those moments where maybe you see someone else living a life that you didn't even realize was possible, and you witnessing them in their power and in their dream life, it awaken something within you where you're like, I want that. I see that someone else has it and I want it. Or maybe sometimes you don't see it that way. Maybe your first instinct is jealousy or envy, or maybe you judge them. But understand that that is just a reflection of something you desire and you're not willing to own it. Being jealous of someone else and getting mad at them for living their life a certain way, or saying that them living their life is wrong, that is something within us that we're not willing to actually own or reflect on or take a look at. And instead, we're casting judgment onto other people. We're putting our focus onto someone else versus ourselves. So, going back to receiving the desires. So we all will like receive our desires, right? Maybe you've made a vision board in the past and you've put stuff on there that you're like, this is what I want in my life. And our natural tendency is to start to figure out, okay, how do I go from the path, like where I am currently sitting at today? How is this all going to come to reality? Like, what's going to have to happen? What am I going to have to do? What's the action that I'm going to have to take in order to make this reality possible, or make that, like, create this reality for myself? And when you start to get into that mindset where you're very like, what's the action that I have to take? What do I have to do? Your brain naturally falls into this cycle of solving a problem. So then it puts us into the focus of, well, the problem with this. So let's say that maybe you receive the desire that you want to build your dream home, and you have no idea how that's going to happen. Maybe your current situation is you're in debt. You don't even have enough money for a down payment on a home. So you're having a really hard time, like, figuring out how you're going to get from where you are right now, that situation, to having your dream home. You received the desire, you decided to own the desire. Like, I do want this thing, I'm going to put it out there. But then what starts to happen is you start to, like, your mind goes down this rabbit hole of, well, how am I going to get from where I'm at currently, where I have no money to even pay for a house like that? I actually have debt, so that's holding me back even further. And then your brain is trying to, like, find ways of, how is this logically going to, like, how can I logically get this to happen? Which then is creating this problem focused mindset. And what that does is, sorry, I have like these, my cat was just in my lap and he shed so bad. So then I get like all these little hairs that either get stuck on me or like go on my face, and it's like I can feel it, but I can't get it off. um okay. So we by shifting into this problem focused mindset, what ends up happening is our focus starts to focus on what we don't have, what's not working, what we lack. So, and if you understand how manifestation works, you understand that where we put our energy, that's what manifests. So if we're focused on the things that we don't have, that we're lacking, that we need to somehow, like, do a lot of work to make this thing shift and happen, then what we're naturally putting out into the quantum field is, I'm lacking, I don't have enough, this is not possible, I'm very far away from my goal. And that's what we manifest more of. Because the thing with manifestation is, you're manifesting everything, whether you like it or not. The whole idea of manifestation coming to light is, people are starting to understand it and they're starting to take back their control. Because when you learn about manifestation, you realize that you're manifesting everything in your life. Everything you have manifested. but we haven't understood it up until this point. And then you start to, like, what people start to do is they start to think that manifestation is this concept that you have to learn. It's this new thing that we're trying to do, or we don't know, like, we like believe and inherent, like, we think that we don't know how to manifest our dream life. But if you just took a look at all of the proof of how much you've manifested up until this point, you'd realize that manifesting is in your nature. It's it's not something you can get rid of. All you have to do is shift the way you are manifesting. And the way that you do that is stop being so problem focused and shift your focus to your desires. I'm just reading my notes here. So, again, going back to the whole problem focused concept, which is where most of our brain lies. And you have to understand that this is how we've stayed alive up until this point. So there was a purpose for it. We don't have to hate or say that that part of our brain, the way that we have been functioning up until this point, was wrong. It's kept us alive all of these years. It's more of a survival component to the way that we've been existing, because for a majority of our evolution, we haven't been able to live beyond survival. We've been very focused on staying alive. We haven't had modern technology the way that we do, where a majority of our basic needs for most people on this planet are met. We don't have to overcome life or death situations to meet those basic survival needs. So, the first time in our lifespan, we are figuring out, okay, we no longer need to exist in that way of living anymore. How can we shift beyond this? How can we adapt to this new modern era that we are in, and use our powers for something much bigger than just surviving? We don't have to just survive anymore. And I think that that's the struggle that most people have right now, is they deep down, whether they have consciously revealed it or not, they deep down know that this is within them. They deep down know that, why am I just living basic survival? Why am I living this way, where I'm always scraping by. I am scraping by just for my basic needs to be met, when we live in a modern society where that should not be the way I am living anymore. We have adapted, we have technology, we have created so much in our life today that I should no longer be scraping by and acting as if I have to overcome life or death threatening situations just to survive. We have the power to get beyond that, but we have to understand what's going on in that level, and why it takes place, because it was needed at one point in our evolution. But it's we can build beyond that now. We've gotten to the point where we don't have to go out into the wild and find our food. No, like, go to a grocery store and our food is already there. There you go. A basic need for survival is already met. We Like, everything, all of our needs, for the most part, for a majority of people, are already met, and we need to learn how to go beyond that now. But going back to, like, the problem focused energy of it, what that does when it comes to manifestation is, again, it's communicating this, like, I need this thing, I need to solve this problem. And when you need something, or when you're in the mindset of, I want something but I don't have it yet, that mindset, you have to be very, very careful when your desires appear. Of, is your mindset going to, oh, I've just realized that I want this thing, I desire this thing, and then immediately you shift into this, I don't have it, which ultimately is communicating lack. And what we've learned about manifestation is, we don't attract what we want. we don't attract what we want. We attract what we are. So you have to be able to shift out of this problem focused, logical brain. How am I going to make it happen? How is it all going to happen? You have to be willing to let go of that, because that's not how you are going to get beyond that basic survival way of living. You have to be able to shift into desire focus. And when you start to shift in survival into desire focus, what you can allow this to do is having the desire ultimately is telling you that there is a version of you that exists that has that thing. When you can tune into, I just received a desire that I want this dream home, you can immediately say, oh, that's because there's a version of me that exists with it right now. Right now, there is a version of me that exists with this thing, and it's pinging me. It's pinging me within me to let me know, hey, we're experiencing this right now. It's incredible. Time to start stepping into that version of you. It's time to start becoming that version of you so that the desire can come to you, because we are abundant in nature. And I think the ultimate thing that we need to overcome in our own mindset is believing that to have abundance, we think that we have to do something to have abundance. No, abundance is in your nature. Being abundant is who you are. It is being able to like have the things that you want in your life when you need them. But the reason we don't feel abundant is because our limiting beliefs are blocking that abundance. That's how powerful you are. Whatever your beliefs are, that is who you naturally become. That's the embodied state. You embody your beliefs, and that's ultimately what you attract. So just because you say you have a desire that you want something, if the underlying belief doesn't believe that you can have that, or maybe it has a conditional belief where it says you have to work really, really hard to get that thing, that is what is going to manifest. Even though there's a version of you that already has it and they didn't have to do anything, that they didn't have to work very, very, very hard or for a certain period of time to get that thing. They just believed that they were worthy enough to have it, and therefore it showed up. That's how powerful we are. That even your own limiting beliefs will come to fruition. So, again, really bringing home that, and maybe I should do a whole nother video on this, but our machine, our mind and our body are ultimately a machine. And the conscious brain, the logical brain, the analytical brain is important, but it's not needed as much as we are using it. We are using it so much every single day. And here's the thing, you don't need to use it for your desires. All you have to do is say, this is what I desire. And then your focus should be about embodying the person who has those desires. You see the opposite, how opposite this is when you are embodying the person who doesn't have it and is working to get it because you lack it. That's what you're communicating. So it's like the desire is just running further and further away. But when you do it on the other side of the approach where the ping, the desire, the download comes to you, then you realize, oh, this is meant for me. I'm going to start being that person as if I already have it. And that's how the desire comes closer to you, because you're embodying the energetic match for it. And when you're stuck in your logical brain of, well, how is this going to happen? How is this going to work? Blah, 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 blah. Understand that God is not a peasant. God is not a peasant. And that mindset is like communicating that we are peasants and that things have to be super, super hard in order to get them. No, God is within us. So if that's the energy that you're communicating, where your pea brain can't understand how this is going to happen, how God is going to make it happen, you're kind of like saying, well, God's not capable of miracles. God's not capable of like creating the most beautiful happenings in my life because I can't understand how that would happen. You have to be willing to let go of the how of you have to be willing to let go of understanding how it's all going to play out and just allow yourself to watch the beautiful show of what's going to happen in your life. Just allow it to be a beautiful movie that you get to be a part of, and you can't wait to see the big reveal of how God is going to make it happen. That's the exciting part. And throughout that whole process, you're just focused on being that person ready to receive it when it comes. Because if you're not ready to receive it when it comes, you will not be able to hold that manifestation because it's not an energetic match. So that should be your only focus is who do I internally have to become? Who do I have to embody? Really get clear on, okay, the desire that I have is this person who builds this beautiful home and is just like living her dream life. Well, who is she? How does she go about her day? What are the thoughts that she thinks? How does she feel about this home that she manifested? She's probably in deep gratitude for it because God created a miracle for her when she asked for it. He delivered it. She's not in peasant consciousness. She's in divine consciousness. How would a divine individual act? They would not be acting like a peasant. They would not be acting like, how are all my bills going to get paid? How is this going to happen? How am I going to do this and do that? She wouldn't be acting like that because she knows that it's already taken care of. And I get that it can be really difficult sometimes to make that shift because we're not only making that shift within our subconscious mind, but we have to make that shift in our body. And that's a lot of the work that I help women do is not only are we getting out of survival mode, which is the first step, you have to be able to train your body and your nervous system to get beyond survival mode. And for most individuals, they are stuck in survival mode. So it's working with the body very intentionally with a lot of focus, a lot of awareness when it is in survival and being able to self-regulate it out of survival. And then beyond that work, all of the healing, all of the limiting beliefs that we're removing because they no longer serve us, they're not in alignment with the desires that we are trying to manifest. We are closing that gap from being aware, being in survival. We're closing that gap into embodying our true self and ultimately unlocking our power. We all have power within us. We all have this innate ability to create our dream life and to serve humanity in such a deep capacity by just being who you are. Every single individual person is worthy and has a beautiful gift that can serve humanity, but understand that if you're stuck in basic survival all of your life, you're never going to unlock that part of yourself. Because if you're in basic survival, everything in your body is communicating that you're in a life or death situation. Why? And when that happens, it gives you like tunnel vision. It doesn't allow you to hear your higher self. It doesn't allow you to hear God whispering to you, your intuition whispering to you, your spirit guides whispering to you. Why should you be able to hear all of that when your body is communicating that you are in a life or death situation. It is going to do everything in its power to protect you in that moment. That's why we have to be able to get beyond survival. And then from there, we can build. From there, that is how we unlock our true power and capabilities, and we become this healer for humanity. And I'm not even saying that by being a healer, I don't mean that you're necessarily becoming a life coach or a mentor or doing bodily healings or anything like that. I'm just saying your nature, just who you are, by unlocking that, becomes healing for the planet. Because again, we come here with a gift, we come here with strengths within us. And by just existing in our power, it has a ripple effect on humanity, which is my ultimate goal in all of my body of work, is to get you to that level. That is how, as a collective, we awaken and live a more harmonious life. I want this planet to be in harmony and to walk in love and collaboration. And we can't do that by focusing on the negative, by focusing on fear and staying in survival. That's not how we get to that point in humanity. The way that we do get to that point is by awakening within ourselves and learning how to unlock our power. We learn to love ourselves unconditionally, because when you love yourself unconditionally, it allows you to love others unconditionally. If you do not love yourself unconditionally, you will not be able to fully love others unconditionally. So if this has awakened something within you, if this is resonating with you and this is making sense for you, I invite you to explore some of the teachings that I have or some of the offers that I have. Currently, right now, I am starting a nervous system reset on Monday, July 21st. We're going to go through it together live, but it will be available beyond July 21st. So if you're watching this after July 21st and you want to know more about the nervous system reset, it's a 7-day reset. You can join that and go through that. And it is basically like the first step in this whole body of work, because it's getting familiar with your nervous system and understanding how to notice when it is in survival, and what are some of the things that you can do to bring it back down to at least a neutral state so it's not in survival, and then beyond that, bringing it to your parasympathetic state, so that calming state within you that we should be sitting at. That's the first level to it all. If you're in Nebraska, I also do in-person events, retreats, and workshops for women and young girls. Most of my work this year so far has been with women, but we are expanding into helping our youth. The way that we are supporting youth has more to do with helping them build confidence, helping them love themselves for who they are, and recognizing that it's trying to help them recognize their beauty and power that already exists within them before it gets so tampered from all of the societal messages that are in our world today. And that's really about the time where young girls are starting to learn conditional beliefs and learn different things that are not aligned with who they truly are. So it's just being able to provide support for young girls. And I also provide online mentorship. So even if you're not in my area, I do have programs and mentorship for women who either are just learning about this body of work and want to get started, or they are in a much higher level of their inner work and they are looking for deeper support in stepping into their power, unlocking their power, and ultimately creating a life that is by design and an example for others of what we can really create in our life. My goal is to help other people unlock their divinity and show humanity what is possible when we do this. The more people that can unlock their divinity and be so connected to their higher self, the more there will be a ripple effect in this world. And God knows we need it. If you have been watching what has been going on in the world, we have enough hate, we have enough fear, we have enough violence, we have enough killing. And the answer isn't to fight fire with fire, it is to unlock our own fire and power within us. And that is how it ripples into the world, because we show the world what love is from within us. So I will leave some different things, links in my description if you want to check out any of those offers that I mentioned. There's also a private podcast series that I currently have available. It's only $22 as of right now. And it kind of gives you like a brief overview of some of the foundations that I teach all of my work off of. It isn't like, obviously it isn't as in depth as some of my offers, but it does give you an overview of what I teach, like what I build a lot of my teachings off of, and it will help give you an understanding too, for it to make even more sense. Of it's actually kind of on the board behind me. I go into that in the podcast series. I don't think I draw visual representations, but I do go into what is on the board behind me and understanding all of that. It is called Uncover and Align. Yeah, I think that's what it's called. So if you want to check that out, and want to see if my work is the right fit for you, that is an option as well. So I will leave you with that today. Thank you so much for listening and tuning in. Be sure to like this video, so that more people can see it and get access to it, especially if you benefited from anything that was shared in this video. And feel free to subscribe to my YouTube channel or check out my podcast if you prefer to listen and educate yourself on podcasts instead of YouTube. So all of my videos that I post here, I do post on my YouTube channel or on my podcast channel as well. And be sure to follow me over on Instagram. I'll leave the link in the description below, because I do like to post little snippets and education on there as well. So if you are really deep in your inner work, your personal growth world, then this is definitely an account that you can expect to support you in that. So thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you in the next one.